Pay attention carefully, due to the fact what you're approximately to discover isn't not unusual awareness. It is not motivation. It isn't quite philosophy to make you feel top. It's something a good deal deeper, greater, uncomfortable, and extra dangerous. What you are about to hear is the information that separates the vulnerable from the effective, the naive from the strategist, the one who suffers manipulation from the one who masters it. These are the guidelines that Machiavelli in no way wrote for moralists, but for folks who want to understand the reality without filters, that life is a recreation of power, that the human mind is a board, and that whoever would not recognize how to play might be used as a bit. Whilst you apprehend this, you won't want to beg for respect anymore, due to the fact others will experience it for your silence, in your gaze, in the manner you stroll without fear. This isn't approximately evil, it is approximately clarity, it's about awakening. So pay attention, because in case you learn those 18 dangerous regulations, they may worry you. Rule 1. By no means display all of your playing cards. The first mistake of the naive is believing that absolute transparency is a virtue. Machiavelli understood something few accept. Data is power, and whoever gives all of it away loses control. Never absolutely monitor your intentions. Always depart a veil, a shadow, a doubt. Mystery doesn't simply shield, it dominates. Whilst others cannot read you, when they don't know in case you smile out of courtesy or strategy, they start revolving around you. They are trying to decipher you, and whoever attempts to recognize you is already gambling your sport. Strength isn't about having all of the answers. It's about others by no means knowing what you are thinking. Thriller is the armor of the clever. Rule 2. Discover ways to seem weaker than your. In an international in which absolutely everyone shouts their strength, the genuine strategist hides theirs. Machiavelli said, "Do not show all of your area, or the enemy will put together to reduce it." Every so often, obvious weakness is the most effective weapon. After they underestimate your thoughts, they reveal theirs. Once they think you're naive, they lower their protect. And when you strike, it will be too past due for them. The lesson is clear. Allow them to think you are predictable whilst you propose the unpredictable, because the mind that disguises itself as innocence is the only that guidelines from the shadows. Rule 3. Make others rely upon you. Electricity doesn't include dominating through pressure, but in making others unable to move without you. Machiavelli observed that the maximum feared ruler isn't the only who imposes fear with punishments, however, the one that becomes critical. Make others need what you manage. Make your presence beneficial, your absence painful, and then you definitely must ask for loyalty, because the fear of losing you will be your silent guardian. Rule 4. Never argue with someone less powerful. The effective do not waste electricity proving their strength. The susceptible do. On every occasion you fall into the trap of arguing with a person who has not anything to lose. You're giving freely your value, your calm, your interest. Machiavelli knew it. Arguing with fools risks the target audience no longer noticing the distinction. Your silence speaks louder than 1,000 phrases. Your indifference is the most fashionable slap. The only who provokes you seeks to scouse borrow your power. The only who ignores demonstrates dominance. Rule 5. Admire isn't always requested for, it is imposed. Recognize is a result, now not a request. Machiavelli taught that the leader who begs for recognize has already lost the throne before sitting on it. Do not demand it. Build it with your barriers, with your firmness, along with your gaze that asserts, "Do not play with me." Respect is born when others fear crossing your strains, no longer because you hate them, but because you don't betray yourself. Rule 6. Compassion has limits. This is one of the harshest and most important truths. Machiavelli wrote, "It's miles higher to be feared than loved if you cannot be each." Now, not due to the fact love would not serve, but because love without respect turns into weak spot. Out of control, compassion makes you predictable. And the predictable is prone. Have mercy, sure, but no longer on the cost of your energy, because the world respects greater the only who knows when to shut their heart. Rule 7. Grasp the art of silence. Silence is the most underestimated tool of electricity. Machiavelli knew it. The only who talks an excessive amount of gives themselves away. The one who listens dominates. Silence offers you control. It lets in the other to reveal themselves. The vulnerable cannot stand the void. They want to fill it with words, justifications, nerves. You don't. You ought to learn how to observe without reaction, to listen without promising, to stay silent until each phrase includes the load of a sentence. Silence isn't the absence of voice, it's the presence of power. Rule 8. Learn how to use worry without becoming its slave. Fear may be your ally or your prison. Feared leaders aren't monsters. They're minds that understand human psychology. They know fear moves faster than love. However, additionally, they understand how to manage it. Machiavelli defined, nicely, administered fear maintains order. Out of control, terror destroys the ruler. You do not are looking for to terrorize. You are searching for to inspire, recognize. And that appreciate is born when others realize that if they betray you, there might not be a second chance. You don't need to threaten. It's sufficient that they realize what you're capable of. Rule 9. Understand human nature, now not your goals. The gravest mistake of the naive is believing that others suppose like them. Machiavelli did not write for dreamers. He wrote for observers. Power is born from information, what genuinely actions humans. Fear, ego, ambition, the want to be visible. When you remember that, you prevent taking the entirety, in my opinion. Betrayal now not affects you due to the fact you know it's part of the game. Flattery not deceives you because you spot the hobby in the back of it. And when you understand the sport, nobody can use you as a pawn. Ask yourself this: do you want to keep being manipulated or learn how to read the minds of these around you? Due to the fact from right here, the rules become darker, greater, actual, more dangerous. You've already grasped the first truths of electricity. However, Machiavelli didn't prevent there. His mind dissected human nature with surgical precision, and in his silence there were warnings for the few who dared to appearance without worry. If you maintain listening, put together yourself, because the next policies aren't for folks that are seeking for to be loved, but for folks who searching for never to be manipulated again. Rule 10. Discover ways to master feelings, no longer repress them. The vulnerable react, the smart respond. Machiavelli knew that emotion is the device with which electricity manipulates the people, the enemy, and the man or woman. If they could manage how you sense, they can decide how you think. It really is why the strategist doesn't allow themselves be dragged by anger or euphoria. They do not are searching for to do away with their feelings. They use them, turn anger into calculated motion, disappointment into introspection, fear into observation. Mastery is not coldness, it is conscious manipulate. Due to the fact while you control your emotions, you manipulate the game, but after they manipulate you, others decide for you. Rule 11. Look at each person. Consider no one. Certainly one of Machiavelli's harshest maxims became simple. Guys are ungrateful, fickle, and egocentric. He did not say it with contempt. He stated it with understanding. Electricity is not born from hatred closer to others, but from knowledge their nature. Look at how they speak, what they repeat, what they silence, where their voice trembles. There lies the truth they'll by no means admit. Trust moves, never phrases. Words are mask, moves are confessions. And keep in mind, you don't want to distrust absolutely everyone out of paranoia. However, out of understanding, because the most dangerous betrayal always comes from the one who smiles closest. Rule 12. Learn to use image as a weapon. Machiavelli understood that notion is more effective than truth. Within the artwork of power, it's no longer sufficient to be sturdy. You ought to seem so. Men do not comply with the reality. They observe the photo that makes them sense secure. It truly is why the strategist cares for every gesture, each word, each silence. Your image shouldn't show what you feel, but what advantages you for them to accept as true with. A peaceful face amid chaos confuses. A serene smile disarms. A firm gaze stops. Image is the invisible theater of strength. Whoever masters it directs the script of others. Think about this. How regularly have you ever liked a person only for how they seemed on top of things, although they weren't? It truly is the Machiavellian magic, making them agree within you more than they consider in themselves. Rule 13, learn to manage time. Time is the maximum highly priced foreign money within the artwork of strategy. The weak rush, the sturdy wait. Machiavelli taught that every action has a specific second, and the maximum commonplace error is acting out of impatience. Do not rush whilst provoked. Do not speak after they are seeking for your reaction. Don't make choices from anxiety. The proper time is not felt. It is calculated. When you grasp time, you appear invincible, due to the fact even as others circulate via impulse. You move the portions with precision. Recollect, patience is the language of the powerful, and prolonged silence occasionally weighs extra than 1,000 responses. Rule 14. Don't permit all people study you completely. Inside the psychological recreation, the greatest advantage isn't electricity. It is unpredictability. If others can decipher your thoughts, you come to be controllable. If they can anticipate your movements, you become uninteresting. Machiavelli said the prince should be a fox to recognize traps and a lion to scare away wolves, meaning doing each without delay, mysterious and fierce, unpredictable however calculated. Do not completely reveal your intentions, no longer even for your allies. Let no one recognize in case you act from emotion or approach. Allow them to doubt, allow them to surprise, let them by no means be sure, because doubtful is in which strength is born. At this point, you're no longer the same. You no longer think just like the naive who believed goodness changed into enough. Now you keep in mind that the human mind is a jungle, and that silence, calm, and method are really worth more than 1,000 empty words. But Machiavelli, nevertheless, guarded his maximum lethal truths, the ones that communicate of the soul of strength, those that separate the strategist from the tyrant, the only who policies from the only who simplest pretends to. And those are the remaining 4. You've got visible how power is constructed, how the thoughts is used as a weapon, how silence may be louder than a shout. But Machiavelli failed to write those thoughts for the cruel or for those who are seeking to wreck. He wrote them for those who desire to survive in a world that does not forgive naivety, due to the fact the cruelest truth of all is, the world does not respect purity, it respects intelligence, and whoever would not understand the game ends up being utilized by individuals who do. Now, pay attention cautiously. Due to the fact the closing 4 guidelines are the ones that separate the strategist from the wise, those that define the one who conquers the exterior and also their own interior. Rule 15. Master the appearance of emotion, but not its essence. Machiavelli wrote that the leader should seem compassionate, just, and devoted, however be the opposite while reality needs it. This isn't hypocrisy, it is method. The arena would not reward naked reality, but the proper mask at the exact moment. You shouldn't lie. You should manipulate the fact. Show empathy even whilst measuring the only speak me to you. Offer calm even whilst planning the next move. Allow them to consider they apprehend your heart while you've got already examined theirs. Due to the fact the mind that masters emotion masters the surroundings. Real energy isn't feeling less. It's feeling deeply without losing manage. Rule 16. By no means lose control of your image, even in chaos. Machiavelli observed that kingdoms don't fall from outside enemies. but from the lack of internal control. The genuine strategist is aware that the entirety, even their failure, can come to be a nicely acted scene. By no means permit others see you lose. Manipulate. Never show desperation. By no means screen that something broke you. Due to the fact within the psychology of electricity, the notion of power is worth more than electricity itself. Discover ways to stand tall whilst the sector burns, to stroll slowly while absolutely everyone runs, to breathe even as everybody shouts. Your calm will be their fear, your serenity their confusion. Chaos well known shows who truly guidelines, and in case you stay serene, you've got already won. Rule 17. Be relentless together with your personal fear before conquering others. You should overcome the best force which could spoil you from within, your worry. Machiavelli knew it. Fear is the most dangerous weapon, however also the purest fuel. Guys fear losing, failing, being rejected, judgment. They worry themselves. But the strategist would not ruin their worry. They remodel it into strength. Worry shows you where your weak spot is, and the entirety that suggests your weak point teaches you the way to emerge as indestructible. Don't run from worry. Observe it. Take a look at it. Master it. Whilst you may have a look at your darkness without trembling, nobody can manipulate you ever once more, due to the fact the only who doesn't fear their shadow no longer has blind spots. And while you attain this point, you're not the identical. You appearance in the replicate, and don't see weak point. You see attention, you see calm, you see someone who no longer asks permission to exist. But there's still one ultimate reality, the most risky one, the one Machiavelli never wrote immediately, because he knew best folks who understood silence could find out it. Rule 18. Grow to be the grasp of yourself. That is the ideally suited law, the only that encompasses all of the others. The only few apprehend, however, all of the greats apply. Machiavelli knew that dominance over others is useless in case you do not dominate your mind. It is unnecessary to manipulate if you can't manage your mind. External admire is worthless in case you do not admire your own inner limitations. Being feared would not imply being merciless. It way being unreachable to the arena's manipulations. When you attain that point in which your emotions do not rule you, wherein your mind don't sabotage you, wherein your calm doesn't depend upon all of us, then you now not want to impose yourself. Admire occurs on its personal, and fear truly seems, not because you are trying to find to inspire it, but because human beings worry what they cannot manage. It truly is the essence of power, now not dominating the sector, however no longer being dominated by way of it.